So, yeah, I watched this video. I'm going to play this right now.
Okay.
I'm going to see. Maybe we'll hear it. I'm not sure. You guys, it'll show up for you now, right? Do you see that pop up for you?
Yep.
I'm going to show you this, and then I'm going to tell you what I asked Cole, okay? Because I was talking to Shelby today, and Shelby's like, yeah. He's like, I had polar bears. He's like, Cole went to the Arctic Circle? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, man, that's crazy. He's like, those polar bears are like, he goes, I can't remember what he was telling me, that if he saw this story someplace or just heard it someplace about these guys that were like shipwrecked or something, and they were on a piece of ice. They had nowhere to go, and there was like 4 or 5 of them, and that they saw in the distance, oh, there's a polar bear over there floating around on that ice, and it just kind of made its way over to them, and it snatched one of them and pulled him in the water and took him over and killed him and ate him over there, and then went and came and got the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one, and they all just were like,
there's nothing you can do.
there's nothing we can do. They had nothing to fight him off, and there, there was nowhere to go.
Polar bears are vicious.
They're vicious.
They're not running away.
No, and they're not. What do you? No, yeah. And anyway, he was telling me the story, so I don't know. I think I've heard a story like that. I don't know how accurate or anything else. Anyway, then I'm going to show you this. And I'm going to tell you what I asked Cole. That's the wrong thing.
That is some monster samurai. Mr.
Can you hear that?
I can hear it.
Oh, sorry. Sometimes I jam in here when I'm.
I do like the music though.
Listen to this. Might have to cut all this out, but
You see the look April just gave us?
when I'm back here by myself and I'm hanging curtain rod and I'm doing all this, this is what I'm listening to.
We're gonna have to put this on my gym playlist. I like it.
Yeah. Japanese trap hip hop mix. Yorichi. Anyway, sorry. I have one of these also. It's 8 hours long.
So what if I try to send you the link again?
Oh, sorry.
No.
Here we go. Here it is. Maybe it's not that. There we go. Here we go. You can see.
I can see it.
Like, don't you just want to go cuddle that thing?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I asked Cole, I'm like, how far are you away? And I'm thinking he's got to be like, I don't know, 200 yards. He's got like some massive lens. He's like 25 yards.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a 100 millimeter lens, and I can't get the whole polar bear in. So, but we had the most amazing guides, and I mean, they know these polar bears.
Yeah, they know their behaviors. And every twitch and.
Yep. Yeah.
So we just jumped right into that polar bear, but I just kind of wanted to show April, like, after telling that story, like, that's incredible that you can go over there and just get that close to these polar bears. And I don't know, somebody packing heat. I mean, somebody's. Yeah. You guys got like a 5-gallon thing of bear spray, or
no? So there's a whole series of things to do to get the bear to not come after people, to eat you. There you go, for lack of a better term.
Just be honest
They're
about
not hungry right
Be honest
now.
about this. Did you catch yourself evaluating anybody else's stamina or speed?
I happen to be
you?
the youngest guy of all the photographers there, and
you were like, I got that guy, that guy.
Yeah.
Like that guy, I'm faster than that guy.
Yep. I think I did. No, but I never even thought about any kind of situation like that. I mean, I was never once was I like, I don't feel comfortable here. Maybe we shouldn't be here. I mean, so
that means you have a good guide, because if you're feeling that way, then you're like, I'm with a guy who's probably pretty shady or something. So that's awesome. But let's go back to the beginning. How did you get invited on this trip?
Okay.
Not only that, but like, tell us who these guys are, and just give us the breakdown of that. How did this trip happen?
Yeah. So I was invited by a photographer out of Wyoming named Ron Hayes. And he is part of a podcast called Beyond the Wild. Him and Jason Loftus, amazing photographers. They are people that I aspire to. I bounce questions off of these guys, and we started building this relationship that started via Instagram.
Oh, wow.
And then and Ron was in law enforcement in Wyoming for a while, and then he kind of the same way I did, got into photography, and now that's become his life. And so we got to shoot together up in northeastern Montana a couple years ago for elk. And then he invited me to Minnesota with him to go photograph and video loons, which I did a couple years ago. And then one day I was getting ready for work and I got a text from Ron and he's like, "Hey, you want to go shoot polar bears?" And I thought he was kind of joking around because he had gone to Norway and did a polar bear tour in Svalbard. And so I thought he was joking around that he was going to send me a video of something that they got that spring over in Norway. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And he's like, "No, we're going to go to Churchill, Manitoba in September. Let's go." And I'm like, "Oh, you're serious?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's do it." So I talked to Shasta and she's like, "You'd be an idiot not to go." And it was me and Ron Hayes, Jason Loftus, Dan Tequila, who's a naturalist, and he's a huge photographer out in Minnesota. If you look at, he's got books for every state of the United States as far as birds, reptiles, wildlife. Super knowledgeable guy.
Oh, wow.
And then a friend.
He didn't just purchase those books. You're saying he
wrote them. He's the
wrote
author.
the books. Yeah,
he's the author.
Wow.
Okay.
And then one other photographer named Kelly, and we all went up there and stayed in a little Airbnb in Churchill, population 900 on a good day, and spent 4 days photographing polar bears with the company that Discover Churchill, which is co-owned by Drew Hamilton, which happens to be a really good friend of Ron's. And so that's kind of how we all got together and got to go on this trip.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy amazing.
Yeah, and there's no roads up to this place.
No.
So you fly it after flying.
So you either fly into the old military airport that's now a commercial airport, or you take a two-day train ride.
1,000 miles.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Now that would be an adventure. I would like to.
That would be
I would like to do
so
the train ride
cool.
once just to see what it's like. It's a 2-day
To
train
go
ride.
through all that countryside.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But flying. So when we flew I drove to Winnipeg with my wife. We'd never been to Manitoba. So we're like, well, we'll just drive. It's like a 13-hour drive. It's not terrible. We drove to Manitoba, and then the next morning we all hopped on the plane. Not Shasta. She drove back to Montana, but hopped on a plane, did a little stop off in a little village called Gillum, which I think is like for electricity and stuff like that. And then that was a dirt runway. That was super cool. And then, we were there for 15 minutes, dropped a couple people off, and then finished our way up to Churchill and landed.
So it's only 13 hours from here to Manitoba?
Yeah.
Really?
it's
And then
13 hours.
another 1,000 miles to the...
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like driving to Vancouver to go see Alex.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's
Or
like,
driving down
it
to
feels like
Vegas.
it's farther away than that.
Yeah, but it was only, it was 13 hours when I went to Minnesota to go photograph loons. It's about the same distance. You go up through Glendive and then Sydney, and then we cut through the corner of Saskatchewan and then over to Manitoba.
Wow.
And it is flat.
Yeah.
flat.
It's flat. It's going, going to the West Coast, you go into Canada, you got the mountains there,
Yeah.
west of Calgary.
Totally different
It's
part.
just flat and no trees, right?
Flat, no trees, and ag land.
Yeah.
Just straight ag land. It's flat. And then flying through, from Winnipeg to Churchill is just lake after lake after lake after lake after lake. It's rugged, country. And then you get towards the tundra there at Churchill and have the little scrub pine and the tundra and Hudson Bay.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
But it was cool. It was fun. Just the entire experience.
And then how long were you up there?
We got there on the 11th, and I think we came home. We flew back to Winnipeg on the 18th, 19th, somewhere there.
Yeah.
And then I hopped a short flight to Calgary, met Shasta and the girls in Calgary, and we spent 2 days over there going to the zoo and having a little mini vacation right at the end of that trip, and then drove home from Calgary, the 8 hours.
Nice.
So, yeah,
That was nice.
kind of made a little loop out of it.
So when you go up to a place like that, where do you guys stay? What do you...
So Drew at Discover Churchill, they've got a couple of Airbnbs, 4-bedroom Airbnbs that they use. There's a couple of hotels up there in Churchill as well. This is how Churchill makes their living. Okay, it's the polar bears are the attraction to Churchill. They have the only Arctic port up in that country, but it's not being used a whole lot right now. They're working on that. It used to be a huge port for ag, for grain and stuff like that, and politics and whatnot. just like here.
So you keep saying this guy discovered Churchill.
That's the company that Drew.
Oh,
that Drew
okay.
owns.
I'm like, I thought you discovered this town that's been up there.
No.
Okay.
I should have said that. Yeah. So Discover Churchill is the company that Drew owns. He's a co-owner.
Okay.
Alex.
That makes way more sense now.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
So you could go Discover Churchill, go to their website, book a tour for different parts of the year.
Okay.
That's
amazing.
how Churchill makes tourism is how Churchill makes its living. And so they have hotels, they have Airbnbs, but it's like the size of Reed Point. It's just a short 900 people.
Wow.
Live there. And then I would say probably double that, go to Churchill to see polar bears and the northern lights and the beluga whale migration that goes right there through Hudson Bay and then up the Churchill River.
Wow.
So
that's interesting. And then, I mean, everything has to basically come in on that train.
yeah, either train or cargo plane to the airport.
Wow.
But so when Drew moved there from Alaska, they had to basically train all of his belongings and everything when him and his family moved up there. And if you buy a new vehicle, you go down by go to Winnipeg, go buy a vehicle and
throw it on the train.
Throw it on the train and train it up there. And yeah, it is. So it's we talk about here being Wild West. It's still pretty rustic in that country. It's hard to make a living up there, and you got to be a hardy person. Even
Calm
then in
down.
September, we had a couple of days of 20-degree highs, and the wind coming off the bay made it freaking chilly.
Yeah.
So,
But you know what, though? Like, I don't know why I'm drawn north, but I know. I tell April all the time, yeah, we can go wherever, but north pulls me. I don't know what it is.
mm-hmm.
That sounds like, I'm like, oh, out in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
right on the Hudson Bay, all of that. Like, I could just hunker down.
It's cool.
I could hunker down and do that kind of a life.
I could in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So not cheap. I mean, there's like one main grocery store, hardware store, liquor store, and you're paying equivalent to like $14-16 for a pack of bologna.
Hey,
but
we're almost there here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It's getting close.
So and that's how we did. I mean, so if you do a tour package, there's meals and stuff like that, and there's restaurants that we went to for lunch, but as far as dinners go, and so part of the deal is the polar bears, and then you're always checking the forecast for the northern lights, and if it's a good night for the northern lights, you're up till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning checking out the northern lights, and then we're back up right at sunrise to go look for polar bears. And so it was like, well, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time cooking, so it was bologna sandwiches, chips, and a beer for dinner.
Yeah.
That we all went in and bought, and making these ourselves, and then go to bed for a few hours and then back at it the next day. But I've never seen northern lights like I've seen, and I think I sent you a couple of pictures and some videos of the northern lights.
Yeah, I've never seen. I've seen
just-
them like through my phone,
Yeah.
but the camera has to pick it up because I couldn't really see them with the naked eye.
Yeah.
But I've never seen.
And I know it's weird, but you could almost hear it. It was just so amazing. You could hear, we don't want to get religious or anything in here, but it's like you can almost hear angels like singing in some choir with these northern lights bouncing all over the sky in different colors. And we had some really good northern lights nights for the time of year we were up there, and we got some really cool reflection shots out of the Churchill River with the northern lights. And
Oh, wow.
I had some awesome time lapse on a GoPro, and then dunked it in the water when we went to hang out with beluga whales, and it fried my GoPro somehow.
That's wild.
Yeah. But I was able to get a little bit of footage off one of my memory cards. But yeah, somehow dunked it in the upside down in the water to film beluga whales coming up to the Zodiac, and pulled it out and looked at it, and there was water all inside my GoPro. But
It was one of the later models, right? Where they're
it was an 8, but turned out to be a good thing because the kids got me the 12 for Christmas. So,
nice. Nice.
Yeah.
So this is a photo you've sent me right here. What is this? What is this place right here?
That is the polar bear jail.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. So what happens, for years and years and years, these polar bears would come into Churchill, and they had an open air dump and everything like that. So these bears would get habituated. Well, I don't have to go work to hunt seals. I can go to the dump and eat food and trash. Well, they were trying to figure out different ways to haze these bears ethically from coming into town all the
They
time.
didn't want them like pushing pennies and things with their nose.
Right. So they started this
Giving them
jail,
wedgies.
and they'd put these bears in quote unquote Churchill jail, and then they would end up sedating them and taking them out to the tundra and stuff like that. Well, these bears would get habituated to that too because they'd get food and water in Churchill jail.
So they're like, yeah,
So
take
they're
me to jail.
Yeah, take me to jail. I get fed, I get water, and don't have to hunt for
Smart
seals.
little-
How did they?
Yeah.
But yeah, that only makes sense though.
Yeah.
Like, why would you have? Yeah.
Yeah. So now they don't feed. They give the bears minimal amount of food and water. So now they associate with like, oh, I go here, I get
Ooh.
hungry. This
Yeah.
isn't a fun time. And then we actually got to watch them take a huge boar. It was sedated. They brought it out. They brought a helicopter in from the Department of Wildlife and picked up the cargo harness the bear and took it out to the tundra.
Can you imagine working there? And you're
Yeah.
like, we're purposely making them hungry.
Oh, I know. Woo.
So that was pretty cool to see that. So there's Polar Bear International has a huge study site up there, and they study all these bears, and they've learned their behaviors, and they're super, super ethical about the way they handle these polar bears.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
What is this place right here?
It looks like it's an abandoned military building. Maybe that one is.
But with this big painting of this whale.
Yeah, so that was a huge and I meant to look it up. I can't remember the name. Maybe April can look it up for us. But there was a bunch of artists that came to Churchill in the late 90s, early 2000s, I believe, to paint these murals as far as an ad campaign to try to bring a little bit of money into the community. And so these artists from all over came to Churchill and painted these murals on all these buildings.
That is cool. I
Yeah.
bet you it makes the dreary long winters
Probably.
less dreary having some color on those
Yeah,
buildings like that.
probably.
And that's awesome.
But like some world...
This one says, like right here, it says the meaning behind each of the 18 seawalls murals in Churchill that warn of climate change and encourage protecting our oceans.
Yeah. And it was some company that kind of sponsored it and brought these artists in, but I meant to look it up before I got here and I forgot.
Wow.
There's 17 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Capital Polar Bear, roughly 800 people, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Recent extreme weather and flooding have been left more and less stranded and forgotten. Every winter, hundreds of polar bears gather and wait for the ice to form over Hudson Bay. However, due to global warming and climate change, their icy hunting grounds are shrinking rapidly, keeping the polar bears on shore longer than they should be. As a result, it has become a challenge for the polar bears to hunt seals after their summer fast. Organized by the Pangea Seed Foundation.
Yep. That was for the mural stuff. That was a moneymaker for the area.
That's interesting. Pangea was what they called the landmass before it all split, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
Wow. And these beluga whales
Those are
here?
beluga whales. So we were there right at the tail end of the beluga whale migration. And
You got a twofer.
Yeah. Yeah, so we got to go out on a Zodiac for a morning, and they're super curious. And
Beluga
they'll come
whales
up,
are cool.
Yeah, and they come right up to the Zodiac and hang out. They're super vocal, so you can hear them talking to each other under the water. They were the old ancient mariners would call them canaries of the sea. I mean, they were just super vocal, talking to each other all the time.
So are you able to hear them? Do you have something in the water?
No, you can just hear them.
You can just hear them.
Yeah. You could just hear them come up when the pods would come up to the Zodiac, and you can hear them talking.
Wow.
Oh, that is
Yeah.
so
And the
cool
cool thing is they're one of the only, I think they might be the only whale that can turn its neck. Something about the cartilage and stuff and its vertebrae that they can turn their neck and stuff like that. It just makes them super, super curious, and they're just fun to watch, and they're pretty. They're just this really cool. They look like obviously green in the water and then white when they come out. And but yeah, so we got to go out on the Zodiac for about 2 hours maybe, and hang out with belugas.
That is so cool.
And sometimes by mid-September, they've all gone back out into the ocean. But we were lucky enough that there were still some pods around right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. These are things that most of the rest of us all just get to like see at SeaWorld. And then I'm like older, now I feel guilty about the animals that are at SeaWorld, so I don't go there. But
Right.
I'm not a very big zoo person.
I'm not either. I'm not. We did go to the zoo, and it's mixed feelings back and forth on how you feel about it.
Yeah.
So that's our group, and then that's the van that Drew and Alex use. I think they have 4 or 5 of them, and that's how we get around on the tundra before it freezes. And then there's tundra buggies, the big ones.
The big ones with the bigger
that are
round
out-
soft tires.
that are out. That are out on the winter when it's frozen. But the reason we wanted to go this time of year is the tundra's changing colors just like it does here. You know, we have the fall foliage that changes, and we wanted something different, and that was kind of part of the reason I wanted to go with these guys too. Is that you see tons and tons of pictures and videos of polar bears in the winter. Beautiful pictures, don't get me wrong, but I was like, man, I want something unique, something different. And so getting these white polar bears in the colorful sub-tundra and stuff like that was just amazing. You know, just something you just don't see every day. You know, how often do you see a white polar bear digging through a little red tree like on that
that
video?
was really cool.
You know?
Here's your group right there, huh?
Yep. Yeah. So there's some amazing photographers and videographers. I mean, their Instagram pages are phenomenal.
That's awesome.
Like I said, these are guys
it's great to get into those circles and then have those kinds of experiences, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's pretty fortunate.
But I mean, these are the guys that you see, you know, that big whitetail buck on a hunting magazine or something like that.
Yeah.
And these are the guys that take those pictures. They're amazing photographers.
So this right here actually looks like a video, and I haven't opened that one yet. Do I open that one?
I don't know.
Let's see what happens.
It might be the Northern Lights.
Let me see. Oh, there we go.
Oh, it's a beluga whale. There you go.
Oops. I was trying to make it bigger. Oh, okay. You can hear everybody's cameras.
The GoPros going back and forth, but
He wants the back.
That's awesome, man.
yeah.
That's neat.
This is the one from earlier that
So we talk about polar bears. There's a
here's a polar
plunge.
bear right there. Look at that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I still haven't done it.
My 3-minute cold plunge every morning, breaking the ice off the water and hopping in.
Man, I know. I got to do that.
Do you wear socks?
No.
I hear a lot of people wear socks.
Yeah. A lot of like the little neoprene socks. Your feet do get cold. I mean, my feet get cold. I notice if I keep my hands out of the water though, it's way more tolerable for me. So I mean, I'll be sitting there like this usually.
Yeah, I see a lot of people keep their hands and socks on their feet.
Yeah, I don't need socks, but I do keep my hands out. And the 3 minutes isn't terrible. I think I've done up to 3:40. My brother does about 3:30, 3:40 every morning.
Oh, wow.
So, but yeah.
That's yeah, I think I would have to do socks. I'd have to do a jacket.
Yeah.
I'm going to actually go over and pull up
The website.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's some northern light photos, a bunch of polar bear photos, Arctic hare, little rabbit. We got some photos and video with one morning. I didn't get lucky enough to get any fox photos or video. We didn't see any when we were there. Oh, no, we did see one, but it was hunting and on the move, and we couldn't get any video or anything. So, but
Yeah, I'm pulling that up. Those the colors you were able to get out of those. You're right. With those white polar bears, with that color, that foliage.
It's just so stark against that.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. I'm going into portfolio, right?
And this would be considered their downtime before October is where the tourist part really starts picking up as far as the polar bear migration and stuff goes. So September, not considered their peak time. So a lot of the restaurants and stuff were closed. There's still a few open for the locals, but that was another cool thing about it is that it didn't feel crowded at all.
Yeah.
There's a couple other tour groups going, not very many, and that was the cool part is it felt really
authentic. And
yeah.
Oh, I had that up in a nice, good way. Oh, look at these shots. I hope that shows up good.
It does. Yeah.
This Arctic hare.
They're pretty big. I was surprised at how big they were.
Man, that thing looks look. It looks like muscly.
Yeah.
Look at that thing.
Got to be hardy to survive out there.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel! That thing's got to have an attitude.
How many polar bears do they estimate that come through there? Like, do they have a number?
I can't remember. I know when I think it was Polar Bear International did their recent study. I think there's like 630 West Hudson Bay polar bears in that region, and I want to say there's 40 to 50 that come through Churchill. I mean, it's like there's pictures in there of a cub, and that cub's going to know that area. When that cub gets kicked off and becomes a subadult, it's going to go back to where it's from. So there's a lot of bears, and some of these bears, kind of just like Yellowstone, like
they stay in the same area.
They know, they come back year after year, and they know what bear. That's I want to say that was a juvenile boar. I mean, that's not even a full-grown polar bear.
To me, it looks like it's. If I could caption this, I'm thinking this thing is looking like I can take those guys.
And so that one was. We actually had to. There's a couple of times where Alex, he was with us that day. He's like, okay, we should probably get on this side of the van. And then, so that's step one, giving yourself distance with the animal, just like you would anywhere else. Mm-hmm. Step two is the hey bear, just like the rangers and Yellowstones. The next one is grabbing a couple of rocks and hitting them rocks together to try to get their attention, and then kind of progresses from there with sound, the exploding sound, shotgun shells that just make a loud sound.
A loud bang.
Then there's rubber bullets. Then if it were to come to it.
They have like a whole menu of things to go
and
through
that's just not like Discover Churchill's plan. That's like set up by the Department of Wildlife. I can't remember the exact term what Canada uses for their wildlife department, but I mean there's a set thing that you have to do for that. And so that bear a couple of times was pretty curious on who we were and what we were doing. So
and what you tasted like?
Probably.
Yeah.
Trying to establish his territory. So, but just a beautiful bear. Mm-hmm. And along when low tide on the Hudson Bay was like that, and you had all that color of rocks. And
do you remember, like, the lighting on this is really good. So about what time of day was this? I mean, is that morning or is that evening light?
That's late afternoon.
Okay.
The sun would be, obviously with the way the light's on him, it would be over his front shoulder, his back front shoulders where the sun would be. Yeah. Still pretty high. But yeah, we got,
that color is so good.
Yeah. Coming at you. Mm-hmm. Just a apex predator. I mean, if you had to pick, I want an apex North American predator. I'm going to put a picture of a polar bear up there.
Holy mackerel.
Wow.
Yeah. That's got to be, look at this guy.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's shaking, right?
Just
starting to.
And that was the fun part, is getting to see a lot of the behaviors. I mean, we get to see bears in Yellowstone pretty frequently. I mean, I'm grizzlies, black bears, pretty much from late March till June. If I don't see a bear when I go to Yellowstone, and not to say it was a bad day, but it's like, oh, I didn't see a bear. So you kind of get habituated to the behaviors of the grizzlies and the black bears down here in the lower 48. And polar bears are completely different, behavior type. They're just so fun to watch. They're just, like that video, just super nonchalant about, hey, I'm going to tear this little tree apart. That's one of my favorite photos.
That is a cool photo.
Showing the tundra, the change of the colors.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And that bear, when he was walking through there, all you could see is the trees and brush moving, and this huge bear disappears in there.
Oh, man.
That's
where you're like, where is he going to pop up?
Yeah. And that was another thing with Drew and Alex. They know these bears. They know their behaviors. I mean, that's what makes that can make or break a trip, I think, is researching and knowing your guide and the company you're going with. And if they are super in tune with the animals, they're doing it all ethically. I mean, those are the people you want, and they were so good and so amazing. And they would say, like, here's a good spot. Let's not try to push this bear to, let's go here. There's a good chance he's going to come here. We'll get some good photos and then we'll move on.
Kind of makes me, the conspiracy-minded guy in me, what I think about then is like, actually, it kind of takes me back to the old cartoon. There were some cartoons, and they would show, like, there was old cartoons a long time ago where they had, like, there was a sheepdog, and his job was protecting these sheep, and there was, like, these wolves that were trying to get that. And, like, they all through these cartoons, they're like, that coyote or wolf or whatever, I think maybe it was the coyote, was trying to get those things, and the sheepdog just keeps getting the best of him and clobbering him. But at the end of the day, they just like all of a sudden the whistle would blow, and that sheepdog would just be like, get up and like go clock out, and like,
Yeah.
they'd be like, see you tomorrow. Be like, hey, see you tomorrow. Anyway, so I'm like, like. It's kind of funny because these guides, they like know these guys, like these
Cue
polar
polar
bears.
bear.
It's like, cue the polar bear. Like, I mean, it's like, hey, okay, listen, Carl, I need you to come out. I got a group coming in. I like, just listen, last time, I mean, you got a little out of control with that,
Right.
but I mean, don't look lazy though. Okay. Don't get, like they work together on this. Like, all right, everybody, that's the plan this week. All right, man, we'll see you out there. Hey, be on time this time. Don't be, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's
Right. No,
it's
and,
not like that.
No, and Drew and Alex told us, like, look, we're on that transition part of the year. We might see one polar bear. We might see 7. We might see 12. It just, it kind of just depends on, like April was reading earlier. I mean, climate has a lot to do with it. When the ice breaks, how long they're going to essentially summer hibernate and relax and raise their young. And there's all these factors that lead to when these bears show up here in Churchill. And it just so happens that the biome in that area is just perfect for these bears, and that's where they keep showing up.
Oh, that's a cool photo right
Yeah, I
there.
like this. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's incredible.
So
Yeah, that's just good light. That's just
Yeah,
good
and
light, man.
I thought and that was part of the challenge too, is that these are white polar bears, and so you're going to get highlights like crazy,
Yeah.
and trying to manage that
The
highlight
exposure on
and
it.
not blow them out, and then not like super underexposed, so everything else around it looks super dark and ugly. And
Are you
trying to
using
find
an ND filter on these?
I
while
didn't.
you're
I
out
didn't
there?
on these.
Yeah.
Using the two primary lenses that I used, and I took 2 camera bodies, so I didn't have to switch back and forth. Was the 800 prime and then the 100 to 500 Canon.
Okay.
And
at that
no, I didn't
shot.
ND filter
that's
anything.
A gorgeous one.
Look at that shot, man. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Look at that.
So
Like that. I'm saying that light on
yeah,
the front legs there, on
Mhm.
on that edge. Yeah, it came out really good.
yeah. And sometimes you just get lucky. And you get everything just right, and you're able to hit that shutter. But it also really helps when you're with some of these most professional and amazing photographers that
And you're like,
have been doing it for years and years and years.
What are you
and-
doing? What's your
well,
settings?
It really wasn't so much that. It was just like, we kind of just have these conversations amongst ourselves when we're shooting, and you're like, oh, look at this, get down at this angle, get down at this angle, let's try to move right here so we can get the light here. And just these subtle little things that you're like, when you're alone, when I'm in Yellowstone a lot or anywhere else that I'm on a trip alone, I'm like, sometimes I don't think about those because I get so caught up in the moment.
Yeah.
It's where it's like, dude, just, you have that little voice in the back of your head, which happens to be 4 other, and I'm not including myself as a professional, but you have 4 professional photographers that are kind of like that little voice in your head that are like, just, here's another angle, here's another angle. And
Yeah.
These look pretty professional to me. I mean, this isn't everyday
Aw.
stuff. This isn't, people out there with their cell phones shooting this stuff. This is pretty amazing stuff.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's a great
Oh.
shot. Look at that.
Yeah. And so we waited on, I think it was this day, we found him. He was just like laying down like on the beach below a bunch of these rocks. And we were talking to each other, and we sat there and we're like, we're going to find that we're going to stay here, see what this bear does. And we're like, wouldn't it be cool? And there might be some photos coming up. Cause they're
That
not,
is so cute.
they're not in order. But it was like, wouldn't it be cool if he went through that crack in these rocks and came up over and kind of hung out down here where there's color is behind these gray rocks? And that's exactly what this bear ended up doing. We're
So
sitting out here
pretty.
on this point, and then I didn't put any pictures on here, but there's a shipwreck behind where we're at, and it's called the Ithaca. That's out there, and we were like, man, maybe he'll come over here and we can get shots of the Ithaca behind it, and that didn't happen. But like, you can't complain about the way that these bears showed up for us.
Oh gosh.
There was and there's some in here in the portfolio of a young of the year, which isn't a very small bear anymore, And then she's it. I don't know if it was a male or female, but it's eating a beluga whale carcass and dragging it around.
Oh man,
with its mom over there. There's some pictures in there, but that's another one of my favorites with the
that's pretty.
foreground rock and the.
Look at that one. Look at the size of those paws.
I know.
They're huge.
That thing would just smack the snot out of you.
Oh, man.
I mean, that's incredible.
They are massive animals.
I wonder, it's got to be, I don't know. I keep bringing up dumb things, but my thoughts are like, man, when you're there and you're just shooting these things and they look all like, these do not look ferocious. These do not look like, they look soft and they're just out there in this beautiful thing. Like I bet you it's easy for people to forget about
Frolicking in
that
the fall
and
colors.
let their guard down in these moments. I mean,
it might, I don't know.
I mean, that's what the guide's job is. Like,
Yeah.
here, I'm going to recognize danger here, but it would be really easy to get caught up shooting these things. And as it gets closer, you're like, oh man, I'm even getting better shots,
And I think, you have that anywhere you go. Like there's people in Yellowstone that you're like, dude, you need to like back up. You're too close. You're getting like in that danger area. And like, again, it comes back to the guide and the company. You have that knowledgeable, good guide. They're not gonna put you in harm's way, and they're gonna assert authority when they need to and be like, you need to get your ass back, type of stuff. Then you have, and unfortunately you have guides in the Photoshop in the outdoor photography world that are the exact opposite. They're there just to make money, and they're gonna push the limits as much as they can. And I promise you, Drew and Alex and Discover Churchill aren't even close to that. They want the experience. They want to do it in a safe way and, maximize your opportunities when they come.
Yeah. Wow. These are just.
And you're in their world. Like, you're in their world, you know? It's like a respect thing.
That's another one. One
Look
of my
at that
favorites.
shot.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just, yeah. So if you keep going, there should be some of a cub in there. That's the very first photo I took.
Oh, really?
So we land on the plane, we meet Drew, they drop us off at the house, we grab all of our gear, and here's imagine 5 photographers with camera gear that we had to all get ready. We've all got Pelican cases full of bodies and lenses, and we lay them out on this big table. And I think I took a picture with my phone. I should have sent it to you, but here's 16 lenses, 10 camera bodies, tripods, and, fluid heads, video heads, ball heads. And we're all laying out there to go grab, get all this stuff, taking this adventure. And that was the first photo I was able to take.
Cub eating the whale.
They were laying out there on some rocks as the tide was the tide going out? I think the tide was going out, and then
I shouldn't have switched.
Yeah. But then we got to watch them swim. So they swam off those rocks and came up to shore and when they found that beluga whale carcass.
Wow.
Yeah. And the Department of Wildlife moved the beluga whale carcass to where it was at because it was right along the coast there, close to town, and they didn't want polar bears coming in. So they are the ones that moved it, and and that's any good guide's going to know where there's a carcass, just like in Yellowstone. You know where the elk carcasses are, the bison carcasses, and you're obviously going to go to places like that to maximize your opportunity.
Yeah.
And so we went there, and it wasn't long, and that sow and cub went over to the beluga whale and munching away.
Wow.
And we pretty much had it to ourselves. There was one other company that had some clients, and they were there for a little bit and moved on. But we got to spend some quality time with that cub and the beluga whale carcass.
Look at that. That's a cub right there.
Yeah, that's a cub.
Yeah.
That was born, I think their cubs were born in February. So that was born in February of 2023. They should start dropping cubs here pretty soon.
Oh, wow.
For 2024. And I would like to go back and get some early cub photos.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
So definitely won't be my last trip to Churchill. I promise.
No, that is amazing.
Yeah.
I might need some better cameras and lenses, April.
Don't tell her that, because every time we talk, you end up buying a new lens, a new camera.
And I might need to go to Churchill.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's incredible.
Yeah. And it's still so real. I mean, the opportunities that I've had in the last 5 years. Here I've been doing this since 2008. And perseverance and patience and connections, they start to
I know. I would
come to
feel bad
fruition.
going up there. I haven't earned it yet, honestly. But you have earned it. You have put your time in. You do go out there all the time. You're working your craft all the time. It's actually very impressive. You don't just... You're not going through the motions on any of this. And you can tell. You can tell in the shots, but yeah. And it's crazy, too, because like when we went to Yellowstone that day, like you're pretty quick to know... I don't know, all the settings. I'll ask him, like, what are you shooting this or that? And he's just like, boom, it's just second nature. And that's really what it takes. I'd be out there like, I wouldn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
But that only comes from putting in that time.
And it's still a challenge for me. I mean, like I said, trying to shoot a white polar bear to get the photo with it looking decent. I mean, even decent, not even spectacular, just even a decent photo was a challenge, and it was a fun challenge. And it's like, here you're spending quality money to go on a trip like this. You're like, I need to get this figured out. And so it was, I mean, I did research before I left. I'm like, there's got to be YouTube videos. There's got to be videos on white subjects, regardless of what they are, with natural light, and what are the settings with this lens, what's going to maximize your opportunity. So, I just don't go to these places willy-nilly and hope for the best. I want to maximize every second I have at that place so I can enjoy it.
Yeah.
I don't want to go there
trying to just be staring at settings and trying to figure that out and not enjoy your surroundings. And
it's like when Milo and I went to Yellowstone. I mean, even the night before, I was checking different things, and I was like, okay, here's what the lights forecast is looking like. Here's what the clouds are supposed to be doing. Here's what the weather's going to be doing. So here's the parameters where I'll probably be shooting most of the day. And I did mess up. I think we talked about it. I ended up shooting a bunch of video at f11 because of my 800, and when I put the 70 to 200 on, or the 24 to 105, I didn't change my f-stop, and so I'm shooting video at f11. And
it's just going to happen when you're changing things out so often. Yeah, and there's so many different things to go.
We're going to have to pause this, but I just got a Charlie horse. Oh, shit.
Oh, we're not pausing this. We're leading with this.
Nope. Son of a bitch, that hurts.
Oh, those are the worst.
Oh, like right in my hamstring.
Oh, really?
Just a Charlie horse.
Drink some water, man.
I have been drinking a little bit of water. It's not funny.
I've got him at night where I've actually had to hop up out of bed just to get my foot to go flat on the ground because they'll be so bad.
Yeah.
I just don't get them.
Oh.
Really?
You don't?
I get migraines. Is that enough?
Well, I used to get migraines a lot too, where I was on medication for them.
Yeah.
And when I started changing the way I eat and stuff like that, they got less and less and less. And now I only get about one a year, maybe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh.
No,
we're editing that out.
We got to pause this.
Yeah. Ouch. Hey, where were we? If I don't move my leg, we'll be good. Once I start moving my leg again, it'll probably
we were just talking about how to be prepared and how to
Yeah.
kind of do your research and know what you're going into. I'm curious, though. Like, all of these shots look like golden hours. So at this time of year, and remind me again,
September.
So the lights probably...
so that sun has got to be staying pretty low all day.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
it's
gotta
not,
help.
I mean,
It's got to be like, that's awesome, because I would imagine it's like, it's not golden hour. It's like golden 6 hours.
Yeah. And that was evening with that cub. Was that morning or evening? Man, I can't remember now if that was
These
morning or
all
night.
look like evening. That's where I'm amazed.
But and we had some good clouds where we'd get diffused light even when it was high.
Yeah.
You get the clouds in there, but we didn't have a ton of daylight. I mean, we were out. It was kind of nice. We weren't up at 4:30. Although we were shooting the northern lights, but sunrise was around 7:30, I would think, and then it was dark by 4:30, 5 o'clock, and we'd go eat dinner, take a break, and then go hit northern lights.
So it's kind of like in Montana, even in that deep fall time, where that light just looks different. You can just tell it's fall just by the light.
Yeah, and I think we got spoiled. We had phenomenal weather for that. It was chilly. We had a couple of days that were short sleeves, but for the most part, it was long sleeve and wear a jacket. It was windy. When the wind comes off the bay, it's kind of cold, just like any other coastal area would be. But we had good weather. We had good northern lights. I mean, it was... I couldn't have asked for a better trip.
Polar Bear Alert Program. Look at that.
Yeah. Don't walk here.
Stop.
Don't do it.
Don't walk in this area.
Yeah, because you can't see. So that's on top of a bunch of rocks right along the coast, right in town. That's in town.
That's in town. Don't
Yeah.
walk in this area.
So you don't walk in that area, and because you can't see.
Oh,
And
in
there's
between the rocks.
in
and
between
stuff?
the rocks and the bay.
Oh, they had to learn that lesson. That
Well, I'm
means,
sure.
That means
That was a hard lesson.
yeah, Larry was walking through here and
Yeah.
got nabbed.
Yeah.
And so now we had to put a sign up here. Every rule is for a reason.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And so that morning, when the reason I put that picture in there is because that morning, Drew and Alex, when we were getting ready to go out, they're like, we checked the neighbor's Ring camera, and we had a polar bear walk through the alley at night.
oh, wow.
Just walk through the alley right behind our Airbnb. And then when we were out on the Zodiac, the helicopter was flying around, and it was making sure there was a bear walking along where that sign was on the back side of those rocks. And they were just making sure it didn't go into town. I'm sure it was the same bear
That's wild.
that was there at night, but they just wanted to keep it out of town because kids are walking to school. People are walking to their jobs.
Yeah, that's why I'm like,
know?
Who's letting kids walk to school up
They're
there?
all walking to school.
this isn't like, you know, up in like Kalispell or, you know, that area where you have a little black bear that comes into town to get dig in the trash.
April,
Right.
I just don't see you letting your kids walk to school up
No,
there.
I'm probably
Yeah.
not.
So, but they in the winter, and that's where they had.
Kids
I think
are probably
they,
armed.
I think they had 3 bears in the bear jail, and those were all from bears that continually come into town and
Habitual offenders.
habitual offenders. Yeah.
Just doing their time in the
Yeah.
pokey.
But like, you know, if you leave your dog food out, and obviously they're going to come in, snag your dog food, snag your garbage. I mean, they're pretty strict about the way they handle things out there, and all the residents. I mean, last thing you want is your kid getting eaten by a polar bear. So
Yeah, I mean,
they're
Hey,
pretty good about-
if
yeah.
it
So there's
does,
the
that's
there's
what
the
it-
picture. We're
that's
like,
what you
man,
get.
wouldn't it be cool if this bear walked up over the rocks right here, and like an hour later he did.
That's incredible. Of course
Yeah.
he did. It was part of it was on his agenda.
Right. They're like, here, bear.
we got you.
It's like, man,
Yeah.
another bunch of photographers. I got to go. Yeah,
I
they
know.
got me walking up the rock today.
Right.
It's on the program.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming again this week. I was going to walk up that rock. No, just kidding. No, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's how I make myself feel better as this isn't real.
That is pretty.
Yeah.
That was in the middle of the day. So he was walking along the beach. Some of those beach pictures are him, and then he just walked out into the tundra there and took a nap.
There's just no way that would attack you. I mean, look how. I mean,
Peaceful it
seriously, look how
looks.
peaceful that is.
It just needs a little scratch behind the ears.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They
Belly
look,
rub.
yeah. You know, that's why Coca-Cola used them for their ad campaign for how many years?
Yeah,
know.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
just
I know.
I mean, they had to use those all through the 80s and 90s
Yeah.
and 2000s, I would think, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, there were Super Bowl commercials. I mean, we just had the Super Bowl. I mean, the Super Bowl commercials about the Coca-Cola Bears,
Yeah.
polar bears, Christmas. You know, so
Yep.
I see that one to me is pretty blown out. I see that the highlights are too much on there, too burned to me, but I still thought it was kind of a cool photo.
No, it's a great shot, and you're
Yeah.
kind of the only one who's thinking that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe all your photographer buddies would agree, but to me, I'm like, that's a great shot. I don't see anything blown out. I can see where you're trying to say that is, but I'm like, man, that's
Yeah.
an awesome. That looks good. Good color all the way around it. I mean, oh man. Like,
Yeah.
look at that. That's ridiculous. Look at the ears, the soft little round
I know. They got
ears.
the
That's
cutest little
ridiculous.
ears.
Yeah, they're cute.
Yeah.
I did buy a stuffed animal polar bear from Churchill and give it to one of the girls.
Yeah.
So
Well,
they
you
had to have. You had to do it. you
Yeah.
know.
Oh,
So
that's a beautiful photo.
That's another one of my favorite photos.
That's
Do you ever just
beautiful.
sit at home and just make your own calendars? And like,
I've made.
I would sit here
calendars.
with if these were all my shots, I'd just be
Yeah.
like, my family would get annoyed with me at Christmas
Yeah.
because they'd be
Um,
like, yeah, you're getting another calendar from me from
yeah.
Shutterfly.
I do make calendars every year. My best friend and I, Zane, that we always go on our trips together. He didn't go with me on this one, but earlier in the year we went to McGee Marsh for the warbler migration.
Yeah.
And so we always put together a joint calendar from our year together of different photos that we've
shots.
taken.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I would be doing that. These are amazing.
Yeah.
I would.
And I was asked to make coffee table books,
Ooh, yeah.
you know, so This one might be the first one. I might do a coffee table book of the polar bears. I would like to go to Norway in the winter and get those. I'd like to go back to Churchill a couple more times. So maybe I'll hold off,
Yeah. So
Get 'em on
this shot
collection.
and then this shot, what are we doing different here?
So one shot was pretty much natural light, the first one.
Okay.
One shot was when a cloud came over and diffused the light, and then just a little different edit to enhance that light
color.
look, that color.
This one looks deep and rich.
Yeah. So there is some editing in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, but
He looks like he has a bloody face.
he does.
Oh,
That's a morning shot. That's a morning shot of the sow eating on the beluga whale.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. I was hoping for bloodier, to be honest with you. A little bit more drama there, but wasn't to be. I can't complain.
Did you guys see any of them like mixing it
pretty.
up with each other?
Not yet. So there weren't that many boars in the area. Later in the winter, November, December, you'll see them mixing it up and fighting. But there was, I want to say we saw 2 different polar bears when we were on the Zodiac on different parts around the bay. So I think we saw 4 boars, maybe, and sows and a couple of the cub.
What is this shot right here?
That is a nuksuk.
What did you just say?
A nuksuk. A nuksuk.
You say it.
Nope, I'm good, thanks.
I'm pretty sure that's how you say it, isn't it? Did I write it on that post?
Oh, there it
Yes.
is.
Yeah. Just how
okay.
it looks. You say it.
I don't think I heard the H.
What is that?
What is that?
So that's from the Inuit people. They've been finding those monuments like on Baffin Island like 3,000 years ago, and it's part of Inuit culture, and it means human-like.
Ah.
And
I see
so
it.
sometimes they were used as markers for hunting. Sometimes they were used as a place for reverence. Sometimes they're used for all sorts of different things in Inuit culture. But they're these statues that are made out of rock.
Been sitting there
From
for
the
thousands of years.
I don't know how old that one is.
Yeah.
There's quite a few of them around. There's actually a dog food that's called a nuksuk, and their logo is one of those.
Wow,
Oh,
that's
wow.
so cool. It's so hard for them. That's great with that little. Is that a sunset shot?
Sunrise.
That's sunrise.
That's on our way to the Zodiac when we went out to the beluga
That's
whales.
incredible.
Yeah.
And it's so hard. I know. Like people think they have ways. Sometimes they're right. Sometimes they're not on how they date all that stuff. But since it's stone, it's so hard to date stone.
Yeah.
But
And I don't know. I should have asked Drew if that was a recent monument or if that's been
man.
there for years
look
and
at
years.
that shot with the light on the water.
Gorgeous.
That was the 24 to 105, I think, or the 16 millimeter. I can't remember what I threw on there for that.
Ah, man, looks incredible. Look at this little guy right here.
Mm.
Yeah, that's the bear from the video.
Okay.
Most of those are along in that style. That was an evening bear. It's the same bear. We just spent a couple hours with him at different times. That's that's a morning
cool.
shot. That's where he took a nap or slept for the night. We went out there in the morning. That was the morning we had to leave. That was kind of bittersweet,
Yeah. Like
spending
back
these
to
time
reality.
back to reality. Yeah, just like your sign.
Oh, wow.
Look at that.
Yeah. That was cool. That, like I said, it was just a surreal feeling being that far north and getting to see those. And like I said, you can almost hear it.
It's like a energy in the air.
Yeah. Yeah. And so one of the big things about Churchill is that in the 60s or the 50s or 60s, the Canadian military built a base up there. And it had about 4,000 people in that area when the base was there. And it was like a missile test base where they were harnessing the Aurora for missile purposes, for communication purposes, for disrupting whatever during a war. If we can if we can harness the energy and EMP it, we can take out comms. And actually it ended up being a joint U.S. and Canadian endeavor.
Huh.
And so I don't know if there's any pictures in here, but if you if you Google Churchill, there's all these abandoned military buildings and satellite sites.
Were
and
they
missile
ever
silos.
able to accomplish any of that?
I don't know.
I mean,
doubt it. I don't know.
It sounds like some men who stare at goats type.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whose
I don't
idea
know.
was that? That's how you know we're paying too much in taxes. When they're
Right.
like, let's go harness the northern lights.
Yeah.
And we'll use it to disrupt the
But I mean, that was the 60s. That was the,
Oh, yeah.
all that time frame. And then, so you'll be out in the tundra and
Look
all
at
of a
that.
sudden.
It's the reflections down, too, on the water.
Yep. Yeah. So you'll be out in the tundra, I guess, during the summer, out doing whatever, riding your four-wheeler or hunting or whatever, and you'll just come across an unexploded missile. So you got to call the ordnance people, and they flag it off, and then they just, they end up destroying the missile. But
Yeah.
so there's missiles all over the tundra up there
wow.
that never blew up and stuff like that. So, but yeah, we tried to get some northern lights, and maybe I have some photos, and I didn't edit them yet, of some of the missile silos and stuff with the northern lights in them. But I don't know if I got to those yet. There's like 7,000 photos I took and video.
Wow. Jeez, dude. How
So,
do you even get around to
Maybe
that?
there's a cabin. There's a cabin.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
I feel like my display has gotten dark or something. Yes. Dang it. I thought about it a little bit ago.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oops.
Yeah. But we had, out of all the nights we were there, I think we had one night where we didn't have any aurora.
Wow.
There's people that'll go to Churchill just for the aurora. They won't even go
They're
up
not
there for
even there
polar
for the bears.
No.
Look at that shot.
So that's in town. That's one of the murals from
And
that.
so I know that, like, with your camera, it's always picking up more light and sees it. Is this how it was with the naked eye?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. That's how it was. It was that vivid. That bright.
Wow. That's so
We were
amazing.
actually driving back to the house and just happened to look out the window because they had pretty much died down. And then we looked out the window and it just like blew up again. And so Drew was like, I know exactly where we're going. We went to the edge of town on this ridge and went to this mural and was able to wide angle it with the mural and the
Wow.
lights behind it.
That's amazing.
But you even have light on.
We light painted it.
Okay. There's
So-
light on the foliage up there on that hill.
Yeah, so that's light painting. So do 2-second exposure, 5-second exposure, and then take a flashlight with low lumen and light up that building.
Cool.
So that's how you get your light. So you can basically do that in one shot
That's incredible.
instead of exposing
Look at these
for
tricks.
exposing for the building, trying to bring in enough light without bringing in noise and getting the northern lights without blowing it out. So you slow your exposure down. I think my ISO might have been like 200. It wasn't even that high, maybe 400. And then
and
you
so
light
it just
paint.
takes a lot, or it's just open up longer and slower.
Yeah. And so it's like a 4-second shot or maybe even a 6-second shot. And then for 3 of those seconds, one of us was light painting. Maybe it was, I think Stan was using a flashlight and light painted that building.
So is he holding it steady or is he swinging around
Nope.
during that
So
exposure?
you would go from the bottom up and then,
Wow.
yeah.
Look at you guys with all the tricks. Man, I wouldn't thought of that at all.
No.
No, I never heard of that.
There's a whole science behind light painting. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at those colors.
Just a little pond out in the tundra.
What an incredible experience, man. Look at
Oh,
one.
that one's cute. That one.
Yeah, just the colors. Like I said, the winter time is cool. There's certain behaviors that you're going to pick up as far as photography and videos go, but having that contrast between the colorful tundra
That's
in
gorgeous.
Yeah.
September and
Yeah,
the bear.
almost looks lit.
Yeah.
That's wild. Looks really good.
Like almost sometimes and in this sequence, we were joking around a little bit. He's kind of like Cocaine Bear. He was just doing all this weird stuff and laying on his back, tearing that little tree apart. And
Oh, yeah. He was having a great time out there.
Yeah,
What a life.
I know. And getting to see that every day too. Could you imagine living up there and getting to see this every day?
I wonder how much, do you get numb to it after a while?
I don't know. But do we ever, I go to Yellowstone how many times a year and I'm never numb there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I have good days and bad days. They were like, man, I wish I would have been here yesterday and got the wolves, or I wish I would have seen this grizzly bear. But I never like grow tired of it.
Yeah. No,
You
that's
know?
awesome. That's good. Some people do. You know,
So-
some people.
You know, but you get excited. Like when you and I went and we got to see those wolves, this excitement that you had for seeing these wolves because you hadn't seen them, that was enough for the trip for me. If we wouldn't have done anything else, just seeing how stoked you were to see the wolves and get to watch them do their thing up on that ridge. I'm like, that was worth the whole trip. And the bighorn.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, I was like, I could have not done anything else the entire day and been totally happy with that, just to see your reaction and get to hang out with you, that, you know, you got to experience some of this stuff that you haven't experienced before in the park. I was like, yeah, it makes the trip worth it too.
Yeah.
You know,
It did also make me, I got motivated to either, I don't know, either get better lenses or even just the spotting scope type thing, or like, how do you like, then all of a sudden I was like, I really enjoy this. And I've told April this a long time ago. Remember, I was like, we should just get into wildlife photography years ago. This is before even talking to you about any of this. And I thought, man, I should just get some big fat lenses, get into this, get the right stuff. And then I think I would really enjoy that, going out there and do that. And I've never been able to just do it, and talked about it, but I don't know. But going and doing that day, I was like, oh man, yeah, I enjoy this. I see why you enjoy it so much. And then I was kind of like going out there, and that's not, you know, I was out there and doing things with you, and I was videoing other things, but then I thought to myself, I really wish I had the right stuff to pull this in myself and get all that. So anyway, motivated me. I'm going to do that for sure. Look at these.
yeah. That's a sow, a female, hanging out with, and his cub is somewhere in there. Never far away still, just like, you know, normal bears around here. That's sunset,
That's awesome.
looking southwest.
Those trees out there outlined way out there.
Across the bay. That's on the bay.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Whoops. I keep on messing it up. Maybe I'm at the end.
You might be. That might be the last one.
That is amazing. What a
That
trip.
is- Wow.
Do you have any other trips coming up here that you're thinking about? What do you got going on?
Well, so during that trip, I got invited to Africa, and
When is that?
this summer, June, July.
Where
Is
at?
it July? South Africa. We're gonna fly into Johannesburg, and then go to Kruger National Park. I'll be there for 8 days.
And so it's the same group of guys?
A couple of them. Jason Loftus and Kelly Harwick will be there. And then there'll be like 3 other photographers that I haven't met before.
And what are you guys primarily shooting?
The Big 10 mammals, elephants, lions, and then anything else you can find.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what bird species I can get with. A friend of mine, well, not a friend, an acquaintance of mine out in Ohio, Henry Doyle, he went to Namibia last year and was able to get like 90 some species of birds
Oh, wow.
in his week there. So I just want to go to Africa.
Yeah.
I want to go to the wild places. You know, this, just like Churchill, it's like, who would expect that this little village of 900 people would have that kind of experience, you know? And so when these guys invited me to Africa, same thing. I called Shasta that night and was like, hey, I know we just dropped a bunch of coin on this trip and we need to do some stuff together, but they invited me to Africa. She's like, let's make it work. So overtime and whatnot. And so, yeah, I'm going to Africa in 2024. Looking at going back to the Gulf Coast in the spring for the bird migration. That's not set in stone yet. And then Yellowstone and other places around Montana. So
That's
Wow.
awesome.
and then I'd like to go. I'm tentatively looking at going to either Costa Rica, Ecuador, Panama to go do some jungle stuff next year in 2025. And then who knows? I go on this African trip and get invited somewhere else. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
we'll see.
That's awesome.
But there's just some things I keep want to honing my craft and working on things. I'd like to get a lot more wide angle wildlife photography. Trying to get a lot more of that landscape in with the wildlife, just to try to get some different feels, some different point of view from some things. Really working on my video. Milo kind of jump-started that in me, watching his, and I think they're great. His video skills are phenomenal, and so trying to get some more video work done. And then I'm actually probably jumping in with both feet and going to start hosting a couple of workshops in 2025. So again, I keep making Milo spend money on cameras and lenses. He's been a big motivator and supporting me and all that. So thank you. And
thanks,
so I'm going to
man.
jump in both feet and host. I'm hoping to host at least 4 workshops in 2025.
Awesome. I always feel like I know nothing around you.
See, it's the exact opposite. You know, your editing style and editing skills and video skills, just that little bit in Yellowstone. I'm like, dang, I don't know shit when it comes to video work. You know? So like I was super nervous.
It's a wide world.
I know. And I was super nervous about dropping that video from McGee Marsh.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I want Milo to come over and watch it. But then I was like, no, I don't want him to. And so he dropped, and then I was like, I need to do, and I kept putting off doing the narration part of it. I was like, well, maybe if I just keep putting it off long enough, and then Milo would be like, hey, come use the studio, do your stuff. I'm like, yeah, okay. And then I think it took me about a month to finally come over here. We set it up and worked on it. And then, I showed it to him. He's like, dude, that's awesome. And I was like, so it was kind of that was a big motivator. And I felt really good about it.
It's fun to just have fun to have a space, you know, to just, so that's why I say, come over here anytime. And I'm trying to get more things in order, you know, more space in order so it could be used in other different ways. So it's fun to be like, just, okay, here's a spot that you don't have to go set up. It's kind of like set up and just go. So no, that's fun.
And, you know, I think you and I, we both have that huge creative drive.
Yeah.
And so it's never like a 5-minute convo with us, though.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm going to stop by and say hi to Milo after work. And like at 8 o'clock, Shasta's like, where the hell are you? She's like, dinner's been had and done. You're on your own.
Right.
So, and I'm sure it's not any different with April.
No, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm getting up. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, getting up for the day?
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't get home at 4.
You got in bed at 4. So
I got home, I was starving, and
that's all I know. See, I'm not a night person. Like, I am like, it is getting my bedtime. Like, I'm a pumpkin. I'm more of a morning person.
Yeah. Now, see, in 16 years of nights at work, I'm still a night guy. So waking up at 6 in the morning, trying to get that routine in, going to school like a teacher, doing that whole day at school, and then coming home and trying to do stuff in the evening. That's a huge change for me.
And it's not easy either.
No.
And we've been on a different routine, and I'm all messed up.
I feel messed up as
know.
well. I don't even know what it's just all messed up. I don't have my the daily thing. I mean, now it's getting, but I've been enjoying the slower pace for sure, and hanging with my kids and the chickens. That's kind of
the chickens.
Chickens.
I hang out with my chickens too. I go out there every morning or every afternoon. We go get eggs. The kids got mad at me today because I went out and grabbed eggs this afternoon before they got home from school. And Delaney, she's my 6-year-old. She's like, Dad, I'm gonna go check eggs. I'm like, hey, I already did. She's like, what? That's my job. I'm like, okay, I'll leave them for you from now on. So, but what about you guys? What's on tap for you guys? I know we have a lot on tap over here with Milo, but what about you, April?
Oh, just kids. We spent so many years hitting the business hard. My youngest is 16, and so
doing that part.
Yeah, but she's been, we have a chicken coop that's been sitting there empty for 8 years. I'm like, what do I do with this thing? Right. She went out there and she's cleaned everything up, and these chickens won the life lottery. I'm like, man, I really wish I got picked up a day after I was born and put it in a box and shipped to you. It's these chickens are, and she's out, and it's her happy place, man. She's just out there. And anyway, so
I'll sit out there for hours with them, and they get in my lap, and the one snuggles me, and
mine are pretty feral.
Yeah, no, they're really
oh no,
nice.
Hers are and I'm just all the time, I'm like, nothing better happen to one of these chickens or she is going to be devastated. But no, that's been nice also for me to slow down and be able to do some of those things. Pay attention
Slow
to some of
down?
those things. Yeah.
You haven't slowed down at all. Dude, I know that firsthand. You have not slowed down.
Well, in some ways it's different, I guess I should say.
You've
but
just sped up in a different lane.
Yeah. No, I do feel that at times. Yes. But
it's different.
It is different, but it's also been nice for me to just do that and not it's been nice for me to do that and allow April to not have to do that with me. Like, I miss hanging out with her every day.
Yeah.
But it's also nice to see her at home and, enjoying those chickens and all that kind of stuff. And so that has been, I know that sounds probably dumb or silly right now, but years of us going at it and whatever. So for her to be able to do that, yes, I'm doing this and I enjoy doing what I'm doing. We have a family reunion coming up this summer every 2 years. We got a family reunion, 80 people coming in. We had to do this weekend. We're flying out to Vancouver, Washington to go see my daughter Alex and her husband and daughter Margot. Kind of a quick trip. But we don't really have anything like, what else do we got? Oh, I got a trip. Well, actually, we got things, huh? I got a friend that turned 50.
Yeah.
And
we went to Korea in September. Then we were in Vancouver
in December.
Then we're going back out to Vancouver. Then we have to go to Vegas in March.
Yeah. So we got a bunch of things like that.
Family reunion coming up.
Which seems kind of crazy for us because we never could travel or go take time to go do things very often.
Yeah.
I mean, we did do some things, but
we
I
were
don't know.
exhausted. It got to the point at the end that I was so tired. I didn't want to do anything or go anywhere. I did not literally have the energy.
And it was weird to travel because people would want us to stay with them, or like, hey, so we kind of go to bed early and we wake up at 3 a.m.
Our schedule was so off.
And so it was hard to go visit people because we were up and we're like, guess we got to,
3 o'clock hits. We're like, we're so tired. We need to go to bed.
4 p.m., 5 p.m.
Right.
and everybody else is just getting wound up. I don't know. So it's been a different pace. So I don't know. So we do have a lot of that. I guess I don't have any big fancy photography, videography trips planned, but you never know.
We'll be going.
Yeah.
We'll be going some more.
Right.
I'll make you tag along with me at Yellowstone.
Yeah. No, I'm down. I need to go do all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of this stuff that I haven't been able to do. I
decided to go camping.
And I've told you,
this
we
summer.
talked about it, like the stuff with the history stuff. Like,
we want to do the road trip of all the forts, that's been on our
the
list
forts
to
along
do.
the Bozeman Trail that we were going to go visit all the forts along the Bozeman Trail that got closed down and burned during the Sioux
Just
War.
take a road trip
Red
and
Clouds
go do all
War.
that.
Yeah. Just things like that we need to go hit.
We haven't camped in a couple of years.
More than a couple.
Yeah. So it's just, just
Heck yeah.
we're excited. I'm excited for just the simple.
A
garden, picking a fresh tomato and
good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right on. Well, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, it is.
And we end up spending half of it talking about stuff completely unrelated to what we were here for. But
I know. I can't help it.
That's no different than when I stop here by the shop. And
I know. I mean, to just talk about one thing or ask one question. Hey, man. Or I'll say, could you stop by? I need I hate to bug you, but I need your thoughts on something. Anyway, then it turns into a big old thing. But
that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, we're not getting rowdy.
No. No, we're not.
No,
not yet.
We're
not till we get the bar set up out there.
Right?
I know.
Then it might be a different story.
I know. I know. I was actually sending her yesterday. I'm like suggestions or things that I was looking at, and I was close.
Yeah.
That's got to get really close. I'm excited about that. I haven't been able to get on that like I need to, but I am excited about that. So I haven't been able.
Coming.
It's coming. It just takes me longer to do things, but no, I am excited about that. Really enjoy that part of it.
No, and then hearing you doing multiple podcasts in a day, that's cool.
That is, yeah. And I'm hoping to be doing a lot more. I've kind of been talking to Penny about help. Like I've been telling her, like, hey, she's got tours fundraisers for the museum, and I'm trying to let her know, hey, let me know if you need me to drone tour, or you need something, you need me to, if I can go do it and document it for you and do something like that for you, I'll do that. So I'm trying to throw that stuff in there while also still making a living.
That's going to be one of my next purchases is a drone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
Well, if you're going to get rid of your old one, I might know a guy.
Yeah.
So,
Oh dear.
but is it time for us to cue the outro music
Yeah.
and fade our voices?
Fade the voices.
Fade the voices and
No more
throw up the big
equipment
fat-
talk.
the big fat logo.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It has been fun though. Thanks for coming over, dude. I'm pumped about my new decal.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I was going to grab more and I got sidetracked editing a video and just had one with me. But when I get the patches made, you guys will be the first to grab
Yeah.
those.
So,
Yeah,
I think that's
awesome.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
I'm pumped. All right. Well, anybody listening, go to Chasing the Wild Outdoors. Go see the rest of Cole's portfolio. It's really impressive. It's professional. I know you sit there and act like you're not professional. It's all very professional stuff. I've seen you out there.
I agree.
You might as well just start calling yourself a professional. I tell people you're a professional.
Well, I appreciate that. So,
What makes a professional?
well,
I guess
in the
How many hours that you've
Exactly,
put into
how
that
many
craft?
hours? I would say a minimum of 1,000 hours.
I mean,
You know,
You have to be there.
I think sometimes we put this. I don't know. Maybe this is just how I think that. Okay, you're not, until you're like getting paid to do it, you're probably not professional.
Yeah.
But that isn't always the right
No,
thing
exactly.
way of measuring that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if you can do all these things and you could whatever, and you're operating at a professional's level, I don't think you have to be paid. And not that I don't know. I know there are things that you have been paid for, but I'm saying, yeah. But you operate at that level.
Yeah.
So I see people out there doing a lot, like who make a
Way
living
mediocre.
on stuff that is way mediocre. So that's why I'm psyched. Oh, he's professional.
I know, but just like you, we're that creative mindset. We're pretty perfectionist minded.
Yeah.
And
And you always have these
You
people
know.
that you look up to, that you aspire to be. And
Yeah.
in your mind, that's the professional.
and like other people, this caliber of photographers, and
Yeah.
this is what they do for you.
Like, you're there.
I mean, they wouldn't ask you if you suck.
But yeah,
So
exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't call myself a professional because I don't ever want to stop. I don't want to get to that point where like, oh, I've done it all. I'm there. I'm a professional. I want to always, I always want to have that
Trying to be
drive.
on the journey of
Yeah.
getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not a destination.
No, not in this profession, not in this outlandish, expensive yet super fulfilling hobby.
Yeah.
I can't be a cop forever. So,
Well,
but I could just ride Milo's coattails on all his awesome adventures.
I could
too.
ride your coat. I'm hoping to ride yours.
So, yeah.
You guys will both be riding each other's coattails.
No, I'm like
that's
hoping
a different type of podcast.
I'm watching you make it.
So,
I'm
no,
watching
guys.
you make it.
Yeah, same. And
All right.
I'm always there to support you in whatever you need, bud.
All right, man. I appreciate it. You too, man.
All right.
We got a lot of adventures ahead of us.
I think we do. A few more podcasts. Maybe there'll be one or two down the road.
We got to go do some trips that we go
Yeah.
out and then we come back and talk about.
We got to use those DJI mics.
Yes.
So, all right, guys. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right.
Bam.